Hi everybody, old Gare out here at Table Rock Lake on this week's Fishing Chums Fishing Report. Well, welcome to the show this week. Boy, we had a lot of water. The lakes are high. They're really running a lot of water out of these lakes. Table Rock, the clarity is very green once again this week. Brandon and I have been out fishing a little bit this morning. Didn't do real good. There's a little bit of a topwater bite early in the morning. Some jigging in some of the brush piles. We'll be talking about this. And I tell you what, Lake of the Ozarks still producing some very good fishing there for crappie. A lot to talk about here on this week's Fishing Chums Fishing Report. Let's go fishing.
Fish and Chums!
Well, Brandon and I are out here on Table Rock Lake today. It's smooth and still green contact. A lot of green water on Table Rock right now. But what's happening out at Beaver Lake, they've opened all the gates earlier in the week, and all that water's coming down through the White River into Table Rock. And then this past Tuesday, out at Table Rock Dam, the Corps opened up all their gates. So there's a lot of water sucking through Table Rock right now, and the fishing's changed a little bit, I think. Brandon and I went walleye fishing earlier this morning, didn't do any good, picked up a few fish. I do want to say that there's a good topwater bite out here at Table Rock right now. It seems like your spook baits have been pretty decent. They have been picking up some fish on whopper plopper if there's a little bit of wind, and of course your popping baits have been working very good as well. Well, we want to thank you very much for being with us here on Fishing Chums. We want to thank all the thousands of viewers this past week that joined us, and we do want to remind you on our YouTube channels, we want you to subscribe. Brandon's going to put this up here. Just push that little button and subscribe. That way you will not miss out on anything. We want to thank all of our viewers over on Facebook. God bless you all, and all of our groups. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to get back to Table Rock here in a second, but we're going to go out to Beaver Lake, and a lot of water out there. And I do understand there's been a pretty good topwater bite out there early in the morning, late evening. And also, look at these photos. There's some nice wipers and stripers being caught on some of the points out at Beaver Lake. And I understand there's been some good bluegill fishing as well. A few crappie being caught. So with all the high water, it makes it a little bit different, makes it tough sometimes to get out for you folks in northwest Arkansas and catch some fish this weekend. Okay, at Table Rock, as I mentioned, there's been some topwater bite going on, and there's new water getting up into the brush piles, and so flipping jigs with some plastic's been paying off, and we're still getting pretty good reports of big plastic worms. Swimming that plastic worms to brush pile and dropping it. There's been picking up some fish. Seems like a 10-inch plum has been a good bait, as I mentioned on last week's show. And they've been picking up some fish out on the big water at times on drop shots, and of course the Ned rig. A few crappie have been caught. My reports wasn't as good as last week, but they're picking up some crappie here on Table Rock, back around some of the docks, especially the docks that have a little bit of brush, and the deeper water brush piles have been producing a few crappie down around 15 to 18 feet of water. Hey, we want to say hi to Mark Miller. He was out with his youngster the other day and picked up this nice mess of fish. Good going, Mark. God bless you. And my buddy Scott Pringle. Gosh darn it, you were supposed to save that fish for me. You know, last week Scott was out. He had a beautiful photo of a nice bass that he caught, and he said he lost a big walleye right to the boat. And I answered him back and said, hey, save that fish for me. I want you to take me out there and I'll get it in a few days. Well, he didn't save it. He saved it for his brother-in-law. And he and his brother-in-law caught a couple real nice walleye last week, including this dandy. Scott went right back there and caught that fish. So a few walleye have been caught out at Table Rock. A few, I'm not saying a lot, but this week's been a little slower as far as I'm concerned. All right, let's go out to Lake Taneycomo. A lot of water going down through. I was out at Lake Taneycomo yesterday looking things over. A lot of water, all that water coming out through the gates at Table Rock. And so if you, that's a pretty fast drift out there right now. And they've been it's slowed down just a little bit, but they are picking up a few trout. And best of luck to you out there. All right, let's go out to Bull Shoals. Boy, a lot of water going through Bull Shoals. I understand in the early morning hours, they're getting out in some of the coves out of that big current and picking up some topwater fish, and they've been picking up some fish at times with some crankbaits on some of the windy points. All right, let's go out to Stockton Lake. You know, boy, I've had mixed reports. Not a whole lot going on at Stockton right now. They had a report a week ago. Some people are picking up a few crappie mid-lake back in the creeks, but I think they probably pretty well moved out of the creeks now and out on the main lake, the deeper water. You may want to check this out. But a lot of water out at Stockton as well. Had a few reports of some walleye being caught out there the last few days on the deeper water points, 25, 30 feet of water on jig and night crawler, but I think they're kind of few and far in between. Let's go out to Truman, and the Truman fishing on the main lake's been pretty tough with all that new water out there. Some people have been still fishing those willow trees and the cedar trees, but overall I think that's you have to work pretty good at them to catch any fish out at Truman right now. I may be wrong, but my reporter didn't say much the last few days. Out at Lake of the Ozarks, boy, if I had one lake to send you to this weekend, once again, would be Lake of the Ozarks. They've been picking up a lot of crappie down below the dam at Truman on the Lake of the Ozarks side, of course. But a lot of these crappie are small, but they are wading through them and catching some nice keepers. And speaking of the dam, down at Bagnell Dam, look at Eric Webster. He was out a couple days ago and down below Bagnell and caught these real nice crappie. So good going, Eric. That's really nice. And David Shelby said, hey, the bass fishing's been good on Lake of the Ozarks. He caught this particular fish on a crankbait. And getting back to the crappie on the main lake at at Lake of the Ozarks, they have been picking up some fish out on the main lake at the lake, especially some brushy points or secondary points, picking up some fish. And some people have been trolling out there at Lake of the Ozarks catching crappie. So Lake of the Ozarks would probably be my preference for a lake this weekend for your fishing. And out at Pomme de Terre, not too much to report on. I checked with two of my reporters out there last night, and all that water, they're not doing a whole lot. I understand there's a little bit of a bass bite going, few crappie being caught, but you have to work for them. Well, it's kind of a quick report today. I want to thank you very much for being with us. We have some nice photos coming your way. Brandon and I have selected some great kids photos, and I think you're going to enjoy it. So right after this report, we'll be scrolling through those photos. And we do want to remind you to like and share. We really appreciate that. And of course, once again, we already told you to subscribe. And if you would like to send us an email, photos, any information, go to our email at fishingchums@gmail.com. Well, we're going to go out and see if we can catch some fish and wake these rascals up. It's kind of slow this morning. Anyway, we're having fun. That's what it's all about. Okay, Brandon, roll 'em.